Yeah, we're good to go. So, what are we talking about? Are we talking about both the PlayStation and Xbox, or are we just talking about the PlayStation stuff?
I mean, we could talk a little bit about the PlayStation because I think that there wasn't really
Well,
a lot of new information aside from like key things like the price and maybe some new footage of games in some games. But we'll see where we can get.
go for it.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Steve from the 8BG, and I'm here with my co-host,
Sterling.
and we are the 8-bit generation, and you're listening to the 8BG cast.
That's the name of it. Was it always that?
Yeah, this is like the third time you asked.
Oh, yeah.
I told you I'm
See,
trying
we,
to
we we do this too far apart sometimes. So yeah,
yes, I'm trying to you know put in the name when I in the episodes because I think it's only fair if
copy,
for
copy that.
all right. But yeah, so today Sony showcased their probably the last event before releasing the PlayStation 5. And to kind of get into the meat of things, they released the prices, I should say, of their PlayStation 5 SKUs. Uh, Currently, the all digital edition of the PlayStation 5 is at $399, and the PlayStation 5 with the disc drive is at $499.
Hmm.
So, thoughts?
Um, when does it come out?
November 19th. Sorry, November 12th in North America and November 19th in other regions.
Okay.
hmm
So, what do I think about the price?
Yeah, so you think it's
That's the
I've
yeah. That's
mhm,
basically. I think it's a reaction to.
mhm,
I think they were just waiting for Microsoft. They were like to do their price, and then they. I think if Microsoft had a higher price, I'm not sure. I think they think of
mhm,
stuff way ahead, really, but I think they said to themselves, we can't be more expensive than Microsoft because
mhm.
PS4 was 400, right? There wasn't a
Yeah.
$500 PS, so
hmm
and that was directly to counter Microsoft's $500
Xbox
Xbox
One.
One, yeah. And a lot of what the PS4's announcement was just a counter because Xbox tried to do too much that generation.
hmm
So yeah, this 500, I think it's knowing what these systems can do and that they're both 500. I think it's great. I really think really now you just choose one based on whatever games you kind of want to play more or
hmm
whatever you feel is a better value to you. Um, I think the biggest thing though that's probably good is that the $400 model that just doesn't have disk drives. Like, I'm not a big disk person anymore. I used to have to be,
hmm
right, but ever since PS4 era and even some PS3, I like just not having to change a disc to play a game. I just like being able to select a game, and I don't mind deleting a game if I don't have space, as long as I can re-download it. I'm not one to super worry about collectivity, of
hmm
like of a game, because
hmm
maybe I should, but I just
I
kind of don't.
mean, really, do
So
you have to? I mean, most games are going digital, and pretty much discs are just pretty much keys,
right.
like keys to unlock the game.
Well,
So I don't.
depending on most
Mhm.
games now, since everything's online, you're right. Like a lot of
Yeah,
times you might have a game disc that doesn't even work anymore. Like
exactly.
I think what Tony Hawk 5 doesn't, you can't
hmm
even play that
Yeah, if
anymore.
especially if they're like
Not that
online only, like
yeah,
it's at some point it's like
you don't even need to collect
I
because what's the point?
I kind of feel the same way too. Like number one, I think the prices of the systems are fair. It doesn't seem like anything ridiculous. Like
Like the six
when the
hundred dollar
PlayStation
PS3.
yeah when PS3 came out, I was like, oh my goodness, that was crazy. Like I paid probably over
$600.
$500 for my
Yeah, me too.
PS3.
Me too.
You know,
20
and that was the one with
gigs.
the yeah that was the metal. Actually, mine was 80 because I think that was the
Oh,
Metal Gear one.
was
That was
yours
one came with
backwards compatible with the PS2?
yeah that was a
That was like one of them
backwards compatible.
last. That was like one of the last models
Uh,
there was.
I bought that at Sears. Can you believe that?
Sears. Are there
Yes,
Sears?
I
Are there
couldn't.
still Sears around?
I think Sears is gone, bro. Or I think maybe if there is, I think they're probably dying out.
All right.
If anything. No, actually, no. I think they are gone. I believe they are gone. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I
But I,
think the
mhm,
price. I think the prices are great. You have a price
mhm,
point for 300. You have the Xbox One. You have the the $400 PlayStation model, and then if you want your
mhm,
premium gaming stuff, it's 500. I just think
mhm.
it's kind of weird the the discless PS4 being 400 seems like such a great deal.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
mean, with PS4, I didn't know they have a
I mean,
disc
I'm
version of that.
sorry, PS5. I forget whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that being 400 is really killer because
yeah.
you get that $300 Xbox while great and $100. I feel like you should just pay the $100 and get a system that is gonna do all the 4K and stuff because everything's gonna
Hmm.
be 4K eventually, and then
Yeah.
and I feel like the Xbox Series S that while having the next gen features and probably somewhat of the graphic power, the fact that it's not 4K, well, it won't matter to everybody. I guess there's some
Hmm.
people that just will never go 4K, but I feel like for $100 more to get that, next the more premium next gen experience,
Hmm.
which kind of almost seems weird to me that $100 more gives you one that can play with the discs. That seems like a lot of money.
Yeah, but I think this is their way to kind of like I don't want to say price gouge, but like add a premium to whatever, because you know how it is, in terms of business, like it doesn't cost that much to probably add it in,
But
but they have to make it appear
it's
that it's a benefit. I mean, I
it,
don't want to say it's a benefit, because I think with having the disc, you have to have like a Blu-ray driver and all these kind of things
yeah.
that takes out of the price of it, because now you don't have to pay for like, I guess the Blu-ray disc. I don't know how much it costs nowadays anyway,
But
but I would say that the
it,
the
it just seems weird that the hundred like because for instance like I understand when the $300 Xbox and the 500 Xbox like it's a $200 difference, so that's a lot
mhm,
bigger than $100. But the understandably $200 difference is that the larger system, the more expensive system, is more powerful. It does more. It does the Xbox Series X. Things that there's certain games that won't play the same. Like
mhm,
how Xbox One has the remastered for Xbox One X whatever features.
yeah,
So that
mhm,
won't work on the Xbox One S. I mean Xbox Series X.
mhm,
Stupid name.
yeah.
Um, but it will do all that stuff I think on the Xbox Series X. So you I
Do you
the
think that
five
can fragment the audience though? Like,
no
for a
no
lot of
I don't think it'll fragment because I think all the games and stuff will play. Like I think
or just
you
the certain features won't
it's
be
just certain
available.
features like
Okay.
you're getting like it's almost like just having a better computer that still they all
Hmm.
play the same games. Where I feel like the two PlayStations do exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's almost like I
So
feel like the four hundred
I,
dollar one is gonna
mhm, it's
probably
gonna be the bestseller.
right.
And I think that's probably going to be the starting point of people just getting used to not having discs anymore. You know, like I think
It's
that's going to be like the jumping point, because number one, you're saving money, and people, right now this
yeah.
economy, people want to, even if it's $100, that's still a lot for a lot of money you're saving, especially including taxes, and and they're forced to get it. It's going to normalize not having discs anymore. So
Yeah.
this is probably the last generation that will ever have discs. Just thinking about it. You know what I mean?
It's
Because I feel like
possible because, like, if you think about it, in 5 years and the way storage is getting cheaper, yeah, you might be right. And the way
yeah,
like
it's
GameStops are kind
yeah,
of going out
this
of business and stuff.
the GameStop's going out of business. You're having the cheapest SKU be discless, which makes sense.
Yeah,
People are gonna get used to it after a while, and once you start normalizing something, no one's gonna go back. You know what I
it's
mean?
just the way it
Like,
is, and that's fine.
yeah, and I think that's great. In terms of any other advantages the PS5 has in terms of price, I mean, like I said, the Xbox Series S, in the Xbox Series X, it's like
Yeah, it's the
I guess like
worst.
that's like you get aneurysm just trying to remember these names.
It's the worst naming thing. Yeah.
But it's I'm still like, I still honestly my bet is still on PlayStation 5 this holiday season.
I was
Um,
gonna say Xbox until I seen the price because I just thought
mhm,
I thought Sony system. I thought they were gonna kind of be like 600 and 500. You know, I thought they were gonna really
Nah,
kind
I
of
don't think they
push
can do
that.
that. I think in this economy, this is not the economy to do that in. Like I feel like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, you're right. But I also feel like sometimes Sony is just that kind of company.
but
Because
you know what? I think this time, from their marketing and the way they're doing things, I feel like they're trying. They saw what they did. They did
they're a
wrong
little more in
10 years ago.
touch.
They're a little bit more in touch. They're trying to like continue their that branding that they have from the PS4, continue that kind of messaging and that warmer, what should I say? Continue that not awareness, but like that relationship that they have with the PS4 and continue on the PS5. They're not going crazy where like on the PS2 era, they were just selling gangbusters and PS3. They're like, you're gonna buy this anyway, so just shut up and buy it. You know what I mean? Like that very,
Yeah,
pig-headed kind of like mentality that they had initially with the PS3, where they had to reel it in later on and try to be more warm and welcoming to their fan base.
right.
So I feel like Sony learned from their mistake, and they're not trying to do that. Um, you know, I think the biggest difference, as we always mentioned before, is the games. And in this presentation, they showed a couple of games that they didn't show before.
Well, they announced
Were there any
there was some
go ahead.
announcements and stuff like that.
Announcements?
Lots
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
game announcements. You want to go through some of them?
Yeah, we can go through it very briefly.
Well,
Let me
this is
see.
not new, but they showed Miles Morales. They showed an extended look at that.
Yes,
What'd you think about that?
I thought it was great. It looks good. I'm actually playing Spider-Man for the first time, and it's a really dope game. And just seeing this footage, just seeing the gameplay in the Miles Morales trailers has got me excited. Like I feel like it felt like you're watching a movie. It felt like you're playing a scene from the movie, which Spider-Man for PS4 did as well. There's a great scene in the middle of the game that actually feels like it could have been in one of the high budget Spider-Man movies. And that scene with the bridge collapsing and him saving the people and all that, it looks really dope. It looks like a really dope scene, and I'm actually excited to play that game.
I haven't played the Spider-Man PS4, but I somewhat hate trailers that show that instead of showing like I get it because it was a
Mhm.
cool thing to show, but I almost just want to see the more open ended. I want to see the swinging around and what like happens, not just some kind of scripted
Mhm.
that you
I
press
mean,
triangle and then you
I,
press square and then you push.
mhm.
I don't like.
I will say in their defense, the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man had the same typical it seemed like had the same trailer
Yeah,
with like
no,
the
it's
action scene,
I get
but
it because
mm,
those are the trailers that people want. Like most
mhm.
people want to see. Oh my god, like that was a blow me away trailer, but
But it also has some gameplay footage in it too. Like if you've seen it, there's also some gameplay
yeah, there was
footage,
some fighting. There was some
which
fighting
is
stuff
like
in it.
very very reminiscent of Part 4. I feel like even though they're
Part four of what? What?
I mean, Part 4, the PS4 version of
Oh,
Spider-Man. It's very, I feel like it's just pretty much an enhanced version of that game.
so
And I know they're not outright saying that. I mean, I think they have said it afterwards when people complained that it wasn't like a whole new sequel. But I don't expect everything to be different because it seems like everything will still take place in Manhattan. Um, so I'm cool with it, but as long as they add enough new elements and new things, which I feel like they probably will do.
I mean,
Um,
this was not like they obviously didn't build this game like oh my
exactly.
god,
You know
this
what
is
I
a
mean?
PS5
Yeah,
game.
they just up-resed it. Like even the Miles Morales in this game looks different than the one in the PS4 version.
But
Like he looks better. Of
the
course.
crazy
So.
thing is that it's not. Well, the thing about it that I get why they're doing this, and this is how you can tell how
Mhm.
much it's really not that it was this game was built this generation, and it's just gonna show like it's just gonna up the PC settings. That's what it's
Mhm.
gonna do. Cause at the end of this, they announced that this like, and I'm not surprised, but I was kind of surprised about the second game that they announced that this is gonna also be on PS4, and
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
and that Horizon, the Horizon game is
Mhm.
also going to be on PS4. So I said that took me aback a little bit, only because the Spider-Man one I kind of get because
Mhm.
you could tell it could be on PS4. Why not?
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Horizon Zero Dawn looked so next gen to me. Like it looked beautiful. I thought that trailer. And
I don't know, man. Like with card games, like I said, card games can really trick because they
no,
can.
not Forza. Horizon Zero Dawn, brother.
Oh, sorry, Horizon. My
Yeah,
bad.
not card games.
I don't know why I'm thinking
I didn't say
Forza.
Forza. I said yeah. It's not Horizon. It's Horizon Forbidden something or whatever. That game looked gorgeous, and
Mhm.
now that I hear like, I'm having not that it'll be as bad as the Halo presentation because that was not
Mhm.
good. Um, Graphically, it wasn't good. Halo but one of the things I always look at that Halo game is like the reason it looks like that is because it has to run on an Xbox, on
Xbox
a,
X.
on an Xbox One, on Xbox
One,
One.
one. Oh yeah, what Xbox One and
It
X
has to
One.
run on that
But even for
game.
Xbox, well, honestly, even for Xbox One, it wasn't impressive.
Yeah, it's true. Well, Xbox One, yeah, you're right. It wasn't impressive, but also Xbox One isn't a terribly impressive system anyway. Like
Hmm.
it lags far behind PS4 and all, Series X. It's like they really needed that Series X not Series X, Xbox One X refresh. Um,
Hmm.
I'm sure these games will be fine. But I always feel like when you know that it can play on the previous generation system, it's not to me a next gen game.
Yeah,
You
it's like
know,
what's that word for that? It's like not cross gen. Is it cross gen? Yeah,
you can call it cross
cross
gen.
gen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
cross
it's in that transition era, right?
gen.
And for me, I'm like, damn, I thought this was gonna be like, obviously it'll look better, but
Yeah.
how much more
Yeah,
is it
I
gonna?
think I think that always happens. You always get that, like when you have an upcoming system, because there are so many developers creating games, and because the systems are so new, they
But
don't want to put all their, I guess,
but
eggs in one basket.
I expect that from like an EA or
Hmm.
something, where they do because they Call of Duty. We're gonna put that everywhere. We want the most, you know.
Hmm.
But I felt like, that's like if when that's like if for Xbox 360 when Halo 3 was announced. Oh, this will also work on Halo on Xbox. You know what I mean?
I mean,
And
here's the thing. I mean, I mean, it was crazy. It was interesting to look back at it since you mentioned it. It's so crazy how different their strategy is compared to like when the 360 was coming out. Because as soon as 360 came out, original Xbox was dead. Like that, they forgot about that. As soon as they did that presentation or that special
yeah,
video for MTV, they totally forgot about the Xbox. Like it never existed. They dropped it.
and I think it was because it was clearly that was their first attempt. It was fine. It did okay.
Mhm.
But I think like they said, yeah, we just got to put it all into this. This is,
Mhm.
we're gonna beat
And,
Sony
and,
to the market.
mhm.
And I think they did very good because the
Yeah, that was a great
360 was
decision.
one of my. I like the 360 a lot more than I like the PS3.
Mm.
I played my 360 a lot more. But then
And and and
PS4
and,
took
it,
it back.
and then you look at it this time, it's a little bit different.
It's
Like
like yeah, Xbox to me
night and
kind
day.
of took yeah.
Like, mm,
They kind of they did that Sony approach where they were like, oh, they're definitely gonna buy this system, so we're gonna
mhm,
shove Connect down their throat and we're gonna make it about TV. And
mhm.
they were somewhat forward thinking with some of it, where they were like, always online. They had some ideas that I think will eventually
Yeah, I
come, but
mean,
they you
we're
can't
always gonna be online anyway. It's
you
just that people at the time weren't. A lot of people felt like they weren't ready because you have to think too. There's a lot of fans in these major cities. There's a lot of fans who are okay with online only, but then sometimes you forget as like these city dwellers, like we're New Yorkers.
yeah.
Sometimes we forget like there's a whole Midwest of people that maybe not don't always have like the best type of connections
Uh,
and things like that. But as
in
time goes on,
2020, you think I don't know. In
no,
2020, is that
2020
still
is different.
hold?
No,
Does that still
2020 is
hold
so
true?
different. I'm talking about like way back at Xbox One's
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
now
yeah.
coming out. There's people who were thinking like that,
You
but
couldn't force it. That was the
but
thing.
people but
Yeah.
people are not forward thinking. They're thinking like, oh, in 5 or 6 years, maybe connections might be stable. Most people are just thinking of the then and the now. They're not thinking of how things can improve over time.
Yeah.
You know, so
Um.
most games, even games that don't require like multiplayer or a lot of people playing on a server. Some of the games are just like online only, like you said, Tony Hawk. You know,
Yeah. Um. Let's talk about. So let's talk about the games. Let's run down them some because, like you
yeah,
said, a lot of them were games we already seen a little bit. Just there was a couple of new announcements. One of the new announcements, for the RPG nerds out there, is Final Fantasy 16. 16.
16. Wow. You
Final
know what's
Fantasy
funny? When I
16.
saw that, I knew it was Final Fantasy when I saw certain designs, and I think I saw a Chocobo or whatever.
Okay.
I thought it was gonna be a spinoff. I didn't think because it looked very different with the combat.
Yeah, the
I
thing
was
of
thinking like maybe it was gonna be like kind of like how Devil May Cry was like a spinoff of or initially started off as like a
Resident
Resident
Evil,
Evil
yeah.
spinoff. So I thought that maybe Final Fantasy was kind of get into that kind of like genre, like that action hero genre.
Well,
So I was surprised to see that was an actual like numbered
there's
game.
there's two things I think about because I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. So
Mhm.
even though I didn't play through 15, and I want to, but I kind of don't like it so far. I just never got into it. But this one, there's some good things about it. It looks great graphically. It looks like Final Fantasy always puts a lot of emphasis on graphics and stuff, so it looks beautiful. I like that they took back to a more medieval style of a game. Final Fantasy is always not the first 5 Final Fantasies were like medieval stories, and then they kind of got a little steampunkish with 6, 7, and 8. Then they went
Mhm.
back to medieval, and then they kind of jumped around from then on. But as the graphics got better, they kind of just did more modern stuff. It was always big, like a lot of modern. Final Fantasy 15 is very modern. There's cars and stuff like that. Final Fantasy 13, there's trains and there's all this. 12 was kind of a mixture, but this looks real medieval, kind of really like before Final Fantasy 6 kind of Final Fantasy, which is kind of interesting. I also think it looks a lot more kind of like a Final Fantasy, like in that tactics era, like swords and sorceries, that kind of stuff. So I think that was cool. What I didn't like is the combat. The combat looks like Kingdom Hearts, right? And
Yeah,
it looks.
that's awesome.
That's just like what we see. We don't know how Kingdom Hearts it will be, but I kind of hated that trend away from the classic RPG where you walk around, you get into a battle, your characters, and then you select the
You have
tasks.
their stats, yeah.
Nah. So and also it's early, so we didn't see, but I didn't see any party members. I just saw
Mhm.
one guy fighting and doing combos and stuff. And I don't think that's like you said. Well, it just doesn't. It looks like a spinoff because of the way the combat is.
it just looks the combat looks. It looked like Devil May Cry.
Yeah, it did. Right, and I'm like, there's no way that it would play as good as Devil May Cry. It's just not. They're not. That company is not. They don't make games like that well. Like they don't. There's a reason.
I don't think there's a problem like trying to branch off into like different genres with your brand to see how
Right.
things stick. I think I'll appreciate an experimentation every once in a while.
I just I hope and this is early, so I hope it because I think Final Fantasy VII remake. I didn't play that either, but I know that you can kind of play that game like a more traditional RPG if you wanted to. You could have the menus and stuff like that, and I'm hoping that this game at least makes it kind of like feel a little bit more classic than but we'll see. But it looks good. Final Fantasy 15 was announced a long time ago, really, if you think about it. It was announced back in like 2011 or 2009. Whenever Final Fantasy 13 was announced, they also technically announced 15 because it wasn't called 15 at the time. But okay, I didn't really pay attention to Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy.
I'm not a real big Harry Potter fan. Okay. I mean, I was just say from what I can see, it looks like a RPG game where you create your own character and go through an adventure. So okay.
Call of Duty,
Black Ops, Cold War.
Skip. Do you care?
I mean, it's typical Call of Duty. I mean, it's Call of Duty. Like
you're gonna shoot people, and it looks pretty, and it's gonna have multiplayer.
It's gonna do what it's always gonna do.
Yeah.
It's gonna. It's like.
To be fair, I've always liked the Black Ops series. I thought they were kind of fun story wise. So I think I'm always a little more interested in those than the other ones. After Modern Warfare 2, I've always just liked the Black Ops instead of like Ghost and Advanced Warfare and whatever. So I'm kind of, maybe I'll get it, but I buy a Call of Duty once every like 4 years. I'll buy one. So
I mean, I'll say this: Modern Warfare actually surprised me because it was a Call of Duty game that I just bought out of the blue, and I was like, you know what? Let me just play it and see what's up.
Right.
And I was really glued to the multiplayer, for a while because it was just so addictive.
Dude,
and
do you feel like after playing this year, do you feel like you will buy the next Call of Duty though? Like if
Why would I?
after
But you know
playing
what it is?
Modern Warfare, do you feel like you're gonna buy this one?
I'm not
Or
sure. I don't
okay.
know how I'm gonna feel. I feel like it was because Modern Warfare was. I just bought it on a whim.
I
Like I wasn't even thinking about it. In fact, I didn't even realize there was Modern Warfare coming out that year. I didn't realize it was kind of a reboot. I wasn't
Interesting.
paying
You
attention
just
to it.
that's interesting.
I was just like, you know what the hell? Let me try this out, and I just bought it. So maybe it might be the same thing with this one.
Next is they showed more Resident Evil
Yeah,
Village.
Resident Evil 8 Village. Yeah, it looks Resident Evil 8 or Village.
Well, they're the same thing.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure. I don't know what's the official
It says
title.
one says Resident Evil Village, and this trailer says Resident Evil 8 Village.
What Resident Evil. I'm looking at CNET.com. It says Evil 8's Village.
Okay.
I don't know. Looks good.
It looks all right. I don't think it looks as cool as 7 did. Like that trailer with 7 and that creepy family was like scary and shit. Like this looks a lot of fantasy, even though it has like there was a part in the trailer that was like this girl went into the forest and cut.
Yeah, that part looked kind of weird.
And
That looked very Tim Burton-y.
I almost looked like I was like, is this Resident Evil? Is this like we just had Resident Evil 2 and 3 released, and they had a way different vibe. And I get it, like when you're way down the line. I mean, at least it's not like trying to be an action game like 5 and 6 were, but like it's something about it. Like I'm sure it'll be fine and freaky, but these trailers didn't give me like, oh man, I want to play that.
I mean, it didn't give me the old man feeling, but I would say I'm intrigued because I was quite interested. So those cartoony visuals to kind of tell a backstory. I was like, that's kind of odd,
Did you watch the Deathloop gameplay trailer?
Yeah, I did see that. That was pretty cool. That was
I didn't
cool.
check that out. So, would it be like a game you would purchase, or does it just look cool and you like it?
It looked cool. Would I purchase it? Again, I'm not sure. It looks good. It looks interesting. It was very stylized. So it was basically from what they were saying in the trailer, he can try to make his kill in one loop, or there's different missions. It looked good. I don't know if I would like buy it straight out. Like it didn't grab me enough to say, hey, I gotta buy this game. But
all right.
Yeah, it intrigued me.
Next is Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. This is not highly unexpected because that's just a Capcom thing, where they just will have a special version of any game they release. So I let you play as Virgil, and I'm sure they'll have like the Bloody Palace mode. It says a new difficulty, also. Yeah, I haven't played the I played it. I have 5. It's really good. So I'm hoping this could come as like a DLC to people who already own it, especially since it's not like it's a new game. It's just a new character. There's a couple of modes and a new playable character.
Well, quick question. What happened with DMC? So I know they still have Devil May Cry DMC, right?
What happened to the spinoff?
There's two separate franchises. I mean,
no, the DMC is dead. That thing is dead.
So wasn't there a part 2 coming out, or did it come out already?
No, they had some DLC. They wanted to do a part 2, but then Ninja Theory was made. They made something else really good that I can't remember. That people really went crazy for. They made some. I'll think of it, but they're not. That's definitely not happening.
Okay, DMC. I could have sworn like a while ago. I remember seeing like a trailer for like DMC 2 DLC. I don't know if it was DLC or.
They had DLC for that game, but that was a long time ago. Oddworld, Soulstorm.
Oddworld, it didn't really intrigue me. I never really played Oddworld, aside from Stranger's Wrath. And it looked okay. Didn't look like something that was like.
I'm not the biggest Oddworld fan, but I did like the first 2 games, and this looks like a great, like either reimagining or I don't know exactly what it is, or whatever it is, but it also doesn't look PS5. Like
it looks like a downloadable game that you just buy.
They literally said like the PS5 gives us the power to do this, and I'm like, there's no effing way that this couldn't have been done on PS4. There's no way. There's some nice lighting, but turn that shit down. This shit should be on the PS4 as well.
Yeah, literally. I think it could be on PS5.
Yeah.
I mean, PS5. I mean, not PS5. PS3.
The scary thing I was thinking about all these things is like, besides Deathloop, these are all like established franchises. There's nothing like new. Anyway, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach.
The only thing I know about Five Nights at Freddy's is that it's really popular with kids.
Skip. No, okay. Basically, Five Nights at Freddy's was like a horror game. Remember, on like computers or something. It was like a horror game, and
I don't remember that.
It was really popular because it was really popular to stream, and people would be scared playing it because it just had these crazy jump scares. And the first game had some kind of creative gameplay where you don't really walk around and do much, but you just have to check like the cameras and then check, make sure doors open. You have a limited amount of power, and each night it gets tougher, and you don't want the monsters to get you or you lose. The animatronics. So it was popular enough that it spawned like 6 sequels. I mean, so this is like the 7th game in the series. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay, interesting.
The Demon Souls.
Haven't really played any of them, but it looks good.
That game looks very next gen to me. It's slow, but that's the kind of gameplay that game series is. It's very slow and methodical, kind of take your time kind of gameplay. But I thought the graphics really, to me, I looked at that and I said, okay, I don't think this can be done. Like, if this was done on PS4, it definitely wouldn't be running at 60 frames, and it definitely wouldn't look as nice.
Yeah, I like seeing like the big bosses. Like that's one thing I like.
That
giant detailed bosses, like in the scale. So that definitely felt kind of like next gen because it just felt bigger,
right?
And it didn't feel like it was forcing anything. It wasn't doing any like crazy camera angles or anything. Like
no,
that.
it looked
it looked good,
and it's a remake. So that all that stuff was in the original, but just the way it moved, like the original chugs at like 15, 20 frames. So the fact that this is all pretty and still moving at the silky smooth 60 frames is great. Fortnite.
Oh yeah, listen, I'm so excited about that. Like,
no, they I know ray tracing's coming to Fortnite, so that's it's
I'll say this. What I like about Fortnite is like I love how upgradable it is. It's like a constant evolving.
Yeah, I think if you
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay for anything. I mean, I get it that it does have like but most of it's skins. I don't think there's any kind of gameplay thing that you have to purchase in that game, unless you want to play the game that they'll never release, which is that single player Fortnite.
And I hope that's kind of like the model for like a lot of well, not a lot of games, but certain games in the future. And I think we might see that
it's just that they did it. They're so ahead and they make so much money that they can do it at the level they're doing it. I don't think a lot of other games are fortunate enough to be as successful so that they can put their money towards making the game continually evolving. But some do, But this game,
it doesn't have to be at the scale of Fortnite because Fortnite is already a behemoth.
Yeah, I mean,
but something like you have a free game and then it's just
as long as it keeps
gauge player base and sell skins.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
This is one of the last things. Well, 2 things. God of War Ragnarok teaser.
There
was no gameplay. It was just like a logo or something. And I've never played the God of War 2018, but it was supposed to be one of the best games of the generation. It looked phenomenal. I kind of want to play it. It's just on my list of million games to play. But it's getting a sequel. I think that's great. That's just going to be another great exclusive. Something that to me screams like you got to get a PlayStation for this.
Oh yeah, definitely. God of War is definitely their marquee franchise
that they've done right by. I think they didn't. It's like I don't know how Xbox's marquee Gears GOW, but there's Gears of War. Their Gears of War, like I know Gears 5 came out, but I don't hear anybody talking about it.
It's like it came and went. What's crazy?
It was good. I heard it was reviewed well. I think.
I'm just surprised how they lost how much of they lost their luster. Like it's kind of crazy. Like 360. You mentioned Gears of War, like it was
Yeah,
great.
Gears was like that sold 360s, right?
Yeah, that's what made me get a 360. That was the first game I got for the 360.
But part of that was because of just how it looked, right? That game looked so much like you couldn't do this on an old system, right?
That's what you definitely couldn't do that PS2 or
right. And so you look into the future, and Xbox really hasn't had a game that blew people away like that since.
And I'm really surprised. Like they just haven't been able to create like an exclusive franchise or something like. I don't know.
I always thought that one game that they canceled could have done that, which is
which one is that?
Scalebound.
Scalebound, yeah, I think
that looked like a possible that game had me interested, but I looked at videos of why that wasn't going to work out, and it just kind of just fell apart, which is a shame.
Yeah. So it's been Blinks the Cat, right?
Oh God. So last but not least, PlayStation Plus collection announced.
You see, all right. This is how the PlayStation Plus collection. What I think, it's Sony saying, "Xbox, we're watching you. Don't worry. We're watching you. Don't worry. We'll have our own. We'll have our own thing one day. Just you watch and wait." And I think that's pretty much what it is. I think, from what I can understand from the trailer, essentially for people who own a PS5, if you have PlayStation Plus, there will be certain PlayStation classics or PlayStation games that'll be available to you to download, and they're all remastered. So like The Last of Us. What else did they show? They showed
They said remastered.
Yeah, they're all remastered versions of those games. So The Last of Us, are
they remastered, or are they just like, since they're running on PS5, they're gonna utilize that and just kind of run naturally better?
I think they said remasters. I can double check.
There's a lot of games to remaster.
No, I mean, not remaster specifically for the PlayStation 5. I think they're gonna just release it for free, so you get to play it.
Yeah, that's not a remaster.
So it's gonna be, yeah, but it's like The Last of Us Remastered was a game.
No, that was a game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that specifically was a remastered version of a PS3 game. But I'm saying
but then I can remaster it for PlayStation.
Okay.
Yeah, it gives you access to it.
And I think this is kind of really good. It's not at any additional cost, right? So if you just have PlayStation Plus, you have these. So that's kind of good, because I just bought a year of PlayStation Plus, and I don't think I've turned on my PlayStation. But if I get like a PS5, you get God of War, Bloodborne, Monster Hunter World, Final Fantasy 15, Fallout 4, Mortal Kombat 10. It's kind of weird.
Arkham Knight,
Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank, Days Gone, Until Dawn, Detroit Become Human, Battlefield 1, Infamous Second Son, Batman Arkham Knight, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us, Persona 5, and Resident Evil 7. I think that's a lot of good games that you can just play, especially if you haven't played them. I think most diehard PlayStation fans will probably play a lot of these anyway, but for people like me or whatever, a lot of these games I wanted to play God of War. I could always do that now if I just
I definitely. This is definitely.
It's definitely a Me Too. It's a Me Too thing, right? Like we can do that too.
No, it's not Me Too. It's Me Too. It's saying we're coming for you.
Yeah, it's not. It's.
You remember that whole? You remember that? What's that? This is called Booker T.
Yeah.
Where he said, "Hulk Hogan, we're coming for you." This is what Microsoft. This is what Sony's saying to Microsoft right now.
I also think that it's definitely not. It's nowhere near as good as Microsoft's service.
It's not, but I think it's just the beginning.
I don't even think it's in the same stratosphere. But the funny thing about me saying that is that it might not be in the same stratosphere, especially because I think Xbox offers some of these games like Final Fantasy and stuff. And Xbox has that EA Game Pass, which is ridiculous now. But the fact that the games on here, you can make if I had to make a list of 10 games you must play from the last generation, they're almost all here. Yeah. As opposed to on the Xbox one, where you got 100 games and a few of them are really good, but you don't have God of War, Uncharted 4, right? You don't have those kind of Persona 5, the best RPG supposedly of the last generation. You don't even have those on Xbox. So it's Xbox is just throwing everything they have at you, while Sony's
Mhm.
throwing like less but better quality. I
Better
feel like
quality, yeah. I
so.
mean, at the end of the day, man, like Sony is lucky enough to have exclusives.
I think.
You know, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say in general. I just think this is the first time in a while where I feel like gamers are really like you buy your system on the first day and you have a bunch of stuff to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
Like
like you wait for that one game or
they
you really.
have like this the launch lineup for the PlayStation 5 is to me really good. Just having the Dark Souls, the Spider-Man, it's a lot of good things. I feel like this feels like a very strong launch of consoles that I've ever seen. I feel like I don't like you think of PS2 launch was awful, PS3 launch was awful,
Mhm.
PS4 launch wasn't great. Uh, Xbox 360's launch was actually okay, decent. It had like Call of Duty 2 and stuff, but nothing like this. This is like not only can you play a lot of these, I don't know how backward. I don't know where backwards compatibility falls with some of
Nah,
this
I don't
stuff.
think PS5 is backwards compatibility as any backwards compatibility.
Okay, which
So
is kind of.
that's why I was like, there's no point of me getting a disc drive.
So wait, this PlayStation Plus collection. Are these games downloadable or are they streamed?
Downloadable.
Okay,
Wait. Actually, you know what? I don't know that. I can
I
say.
I don't know. I have to look that. But even if it was downloadable, that's stupid if it doesn't have backwards compatibility since it can play all these damn PS4 games.
I mean, they're gonna do everything digital. They just want
Yeah,
Xbox is like, hey, we're backwards compatible with your favorite Xbox One games.
I think can't Xbox Series X play like every Xbox game,
I
like
mean,
even the OG. I think
I
it's
don't know if the disc on a disc too.
I think it's compatible with OG Xbox games. I think
Oh, I mean, possibly. I don't know.
I know
I think
Xbox. I know Xbox One was you
mhm.
could play, and I
Wait,
think.
I know. Wait, you can pay. I mean, I know you can play Xbox 360 games on it,
Let me
but
check.
Xbox One games, I don't think so.
Let me see. Can Series X play Xbox games? Let's see. Let's see. Series X. Well, anyway, let's cut this to a close.
All right. So I mean, you got the price for the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
Got the games. Has your thoughts changed at all now that we have kind of like a more clear picture on what each company's working with?
Yeah, I think Sony wins this generation. I think Xbox does close the gap a bit. I think um, I think Xbox is really banking on the whole the service as the way they're gonna make money, and if the X Cloud thing works out really well, the streaming service, I think that will put more in favor. But I think Sony's coming in with way more momentum from the last generation. They didn't screw it up, and everybody I hear, that all the Sony, all the people I talk to, most people are like, get a PlayStation, get a PlayStation. The $300 Xbox is gonna be great for like people that just don't want to spend, and plus that plan that they're gonna have that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to just buy one and only do down payments. I think that's gonna be huge. Um, I think what Xbox should be smart and try to produce as much consoles as it, because the Sony. I heard people getting blocked and crazy things from
Yeah,
GameStop after the Sony thing launched. After they,
yeah. There
people.
is I think every major website. Let me see. I had a list, but there was like the pre-orders.
They're like,
Uh, they're like all done. Like
yeah,
I think only place
they're
I had was Best Buy, and that's probably done now
they're
since. It's,
so they're shattering websites. Like everything's breaking because people are trying to go crazy for it.
yeah,
Which I'm gonna not be that guy. I'm definitely like I have a PC. That's another thing I mentioned earlier is that a lot of those games
oh, it's gonna be on PC
are
as well.
gonna
I
be on
saw that.
PC. Maybe not
They're
right away.
console exclusive with the asterisk.
Yeah,
Remember?
but at the bottom, like the Final Fantasy is like this is also on PC, like in very small, like dark. People are like Demon Souls. Oh, that's gonna be PS exclusive because Sony owns the rights to that and all that. Blah blah. Nope. People,
Well,
that's
you know
what.
what? They gave the impression. As long as you give the even if it's available on PC, As long as the
Most
impression is there, the general public's not gonna pay attention to that.
and most people don't. I feel like when it comes to consoles, most gamers, I think, are console gamers at the end of the day. And I think, like, they don't, like, if their game comes on PC also, they don't care. So it's more like the PC person's like, yes, I get to play, I get to play this too. So, I mean, if you're a big PC guy and you didn't want to get a console, a lot of the announcements that you've seen, you're like, yeah. And Sony even said in the previous like last couple of weeks that they are going to move a lot of their games. They said they're slowly going to put some of their games, their bigger games, on PC. Like Horizon was one of the games that eventually made it to PC, and it's not going to be the last. So that's kind of a very interesting thing to think about.
I mean, I think they're probably just preparing for the future. I mean, maybe
Yeah,
soon,
I
like
think that
these consoles. As soon as it's probably will just be studios. Like you see how everyone kind of has like their own like
you know what it'll be.
page for their games.
Yeah, I think it's eventually gonna lead to a battle of online stores and like,
Exactly.
because like on my PC I have all these I have Steam, you have Origin, you have now Steam is like far and away probably never gonna go anywhere, but like Epic Games is trying to take some of that space, and Epic Games is trying really hard because Epic Games gives you free games every like they give you 2 free games like a week or something like that. And these are not like throwaway games. These are like, you know, real games that might be like a year old, but they're free. You just gotta claim them. I've gotten like a lot of games from them for free, like that I want to play. So they've been, trying, but I think people are like, there's some people that so hardcore with Steam, but in the future, like it's gonna be like, okay, you can only buy this game from the PlayStation Store. They don't care where you play it. Like once everything, like you said, becomes one probably box that you either buy or everybody just moves to PC.
We're gonna reach a plateau at some point,
Right, where just now we got to figure out how to now you can only buy this, like, because this happens on PC now where you can only buy like Tony Hawk. I had to buy from the Epic Game Store. I couldn't buy it from Steam because it's not on Steam. It's not a different system or anything. It's just a different store that I have to go to online to buy a game to play. And the thing that sucks is that I gotta use their service, whatever, to play that game. I can't use my Steam friends and Steam code. I have to use that. That's the division that we're probably gonna see eventually, I think.
Exactly. I think the last bastion will probably be where just like
I think what is it? This like whatever Nintendo decides to do, because I think they'll do something that you have to buy a Nintendo for. But I think after the PS6 generation or whatever, I think they're gonna move into something else. Because after this, it's not even about it being more realistic. They gotta push like the worlds of games. Like a game has to really be like alive, and when like almost like Animal Crossing, but like to like The Last of Us in terms of such
quality.
Yeah, such a lived, which is gonna take a gajillion dollars to make these kind of games anyway. But like you can't, the graphics, like they're pushing such small details in graphics. Now it's not graphic fidelity, it's frame rate and lighting. That's
Exactly.
what's being pushed now. Frame rate.
I mean, like I think what's his name, Gordon Levitt something. What's his name? The one who played Robin and
yeah. Jason
Gordon
or something like that. I don't know.
Jason Gordon Levitt, yeah, whatever his name is. I should say his name correctly, but he mentioned that video games are going to be the future of movies or entertainment, and I agree with that. I feel like video games will give you this. I think video games, and I don't want to turn this into a whole different conversation because we're going to end kind of after this, but I feel like video games gives you an experience like nothing else. And
I think
going to be, the crux of the entertainment in the future.
I still think that it's still. I don't think that video games they could. I don't think they're gonna like. They're just gonna be more viably. Maybe they'll be more viably respected as a form of storytelling. Because when you're comparing it to like movies and stuff and art or whatever, it's all like the storytelling element of it. Like, games still have a long way to go when it comes to writing and stuff like that. And
I think there's a lot of games, especially in this generation, that were just like kind of story based games that were just, there's a lot of games I played like this called Ox, Oxenfree or something like that for
right,
Xbox One, and it's a very like it has like these kind of like pixelated old school graphics, but it's a very involved story and where you can make your choices and things of that nature. And then you have stuff like Until Dawn. You
yep.
have what's that game that they showed? Uh that's named after some song. I wanted Tell Me Why. Tell Me Why. Games like Tell Me Why.
Yeah,
There's like so many of these different games that just
but
focus only on the story. And of course, the gameplay will have you, move around the environment or manipulate things in the environment.
but I
But I think
think
it's a way that you can engross your audience that you really can't do in movies. Not say that movies will be obsolete. I don't think they ever will
but
be.
I think that's the big thing about that though, because what I think you're on to something where as the games get better, they'll just tell these amazing stories that you interact with. But I think that's also why they will still remain where they are because they're interactable, which means you have input on it. And when you read a book or you watch a movie, the idea is that you don't have interaction with it, and it's
Mhm.
someone telling a pure story. And I think no, not a, people
But
do
ga- but
movies.
games can do that too, though. You can you can still tell a story where it's the author is whoever's writing the story is controlling everything, but maybe you can get like more clues on something that
But I
you
think
couldn't
that
before.
takes away. I think when you put the part of the story in the player's hands to do anything, even if it's to move forward, it has when it has to do with their interactions. I think that automatically makes it a whole different form of storytelling, and I think it doesn't quite have the same. I'm not saying it can't be as good or something. Like I played a lot of stories I felt a certain way, but it's. I think it's so. I think it's just its own thing, and I almost don't even want to compare it to movies or something like that. I just feel
You
like
know,
I just feel like
but
it's just a form of like it's a form of art. It's to me, it's always been a form of creativity and art. That's how I feel. But I also feel like when you have interaction with it, it's automatically its own. It's its own.
its
It's a
own thing.
game.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not. Yeah, I believe nothing's gonna ever replace you know TV shows or movies. I think those mediums are kind of like what they are. Because sometimes you just want a passive experience. Sometimes you just don't want to interact, and it's or whatever. But I feel like as time goes on and devices become more and more powerful, where I'm pretty sure phones will be the new next place where you play your the latest games, like real games, not like
Well, I don't know.
scaled down
People
versions.
saying now that's not even a far fetched story now. There's pretty much
Exactly.
real
Like
games.
back then they were like when they were
But
showing off
that's just
phones.
but that's just making sense of the medium being more powerful. But I'm saying there's still that. It's almost like I'm just saying. I see what you're saying, and I'm not even disagreeing you. I'm just saying that it's like how a book is not the same as a movie, which is not the same as music, which to
Yeah,
me is not the
they
same
all
as
exist.
which is not the same as a video game. And as much as you can try to make one kind of be similar to like a video game, like because you can play like The Last of Us 2 and say, "Oh my God, the story in that was like movie or the story or something." It's still you're still required at some point to shoot somebody in the head, or you're still required at some point, or even games that like try not to introduce failure, but like you still die or something. You know what I mean? There's
Mhm.
there's still an element of like you can be. I feel like you don't even have to be cognitively. You have to have some kind of level of cognitive whatever to interact with a game properly. Whereas like like I could take some of my like individuals at my job who couldn't understand how to make a game work, and so even if it was simple, right? Because their level of cognitive thinking doesn't go like to even where a button press does something, they won't quite get that. But you show them a movie or tell them a story, they can get that. You know what I mean? Like, it's this. I like where you're going. I think this is a good
You know what?
discussion.
Yeah, I think we should probably save it for another.
Yeah, that's
podcast.
fine. I mean, you can split these up too, because this went way longer than 30 minutes, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Way long.
But
too long.
Yeah, because I'm about to hit the.
Yeah, hit. Oh, you know what? I'm the one recording, right? I didn't even stop recording. That's the thing. I haven't stopped yet.
Okay. I thought you stopped. Like, well, all right, ladies and gentlemen.
We did
guys so much.
We did really bad at 30 minutes.
What time was it now? How much? Just like 45?
55 minutes.
55. Oh man. All right.
But you can cut it up.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 8BGCast. If you liked this episode and other episodes on this channel, please give us a thumbs up and also subscribe.
And spread the news.
Exactly. Spread the news, share, and whatever Sterling says.
Yeah.
So, it helps us out a lot.
All right. We're out of here. This is Sterling and
Steve.
Adios.